Remember that? Yeah, she's out there. Yeah, that's true. Somewhere.
The first call.
You drove through it.
Just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for tonight's meeting. I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. And we'll go ahead with a call to order, starting with the roll call. Ebony DaCosta,
Present.
Tony Gaines,
Here.
Kimberly Hedlund,
Here.
Eileen Henderson, Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Frankie Jones, Carlos De La Osa,
Present.
Fran Tate,
Present.
Diane Ziegler,
Present.
Cedric Carrington, Dana Lazarus,
Here.
and Mimi Martinez.
Here.
Okay, well, first on the agenda is public comments. So if you'd like to make a public comment, we don't have a microphone, but please stand, and if you're able to, and you can make your comment. Oh, yeah, I don't.
You can be anywhere. Okay.
Yeah, you can be anywhere.
Different rooms, space.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll just stand here.
And we asked that you keep comments to 3 minutes. Awesome.
Is there a timer?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Bobby Brayton, just want to say, welcome to all the new members. It's always exciting when there's a new beginning, there's new opportunities. And I hope that the members that are, this committee that are here, take full advantage and are able to move East Tampa's CRA forward. My comment today, is about, some of the programs that we have. It was interesting to learn about what Jacksonville, an organization in Jacksonville is doing. LISC Jacksonville is an organization that provides grants for housing. They were finding that some of their applicants were having difficulty because they didn't have any estate planning, and maybe the house was an estate. There's all these sort of legal tangles that they're running into that was roadblocks to administering these grants. And I was curious what the situation was here in our area. We have, housing grants, different grant programs. It turns out that we don't provide any education about estate planning in our grants, and there's no requirement to have any estate planning in the CRA grants. And that's a legal issue. The state of Florida says that we're not allowed, as a CRA, to expend funding on that. But I will say public-private partnerships can be very powerful. There might be a law firm or maybe a nonprofit out there who, if the CRA partners with them, might be able to receive grants. And that way, people who apply for the East Tampa CRA's grants, we can funnel them there. And we're helping even more people who are in a vulnerable position than we are now with the grant funding that we have. So I'd be curious to see, and maybe as a discussion among the members here, as a future agenda item, if it might be possible to form a partnership with a nonprofit that would be able to assist these, homeowners, or even if they're not homeowners, people that, are living in a home that's in a state, so that we can provide access to grant funding for them and the opportunity to be able to avail themselves of some of the benefits that come with living in the CRA that they might not have access to now. So that's just what I wanted to say. Just a little food for thought. If anybody would be willing to pursue that at some point in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Right here.
Gordon? Yes.
Okay, hi, to the board members,
And I'm sorry, would you mind announcing your name?
okay, Connie Burton. The reason I'm here tonight is that as a resident of East Tampa, I would just like to encourage the board to have an understanding of the resident population that has been waiting for over 20 years to see some personal relief that would benefit the community that has been maligned the most. There's possibly reasons that's beyond my explanation in 3 minutes to say, why has it taking so long for the East Tampa residents to benefit coming out of blight, coming out of poverty, when this is the first CRA in the state of Florida and the largest? What we see constantly happening is that great ideas come and it surpasses the wishes of the people. The people in East Tampa have been asking for some of the simplest basics, how to remove blight and how do they personally benefit as being financial participants in seeing this CRA growth. So I know tonight there's a proposal of a beautiful shiny object, but I would like to remind this board that you have property that you haven't touched. You have made promises through the city that has not happened. And so although I support housing that would impact those that are making $24,000, because that's what your CRA kind of like lay out. That is the average salary of people that live here now, right? And so you have property that has been purchased. We have made promises that we was going to do jump starts, and most of our communities receive only job fairs. And my biggest criticism against the proposal tonight is that while they talk about culinary training, maybe it's more. That wouldn't be something that I would start the gate out with if I'm trying to change the trajectory of people that is in low income skilled jobs. I think people can walk into a McDonald's or Burger King and take them jobs on it themselves without having a brand new facility built to do that. I would also like to remind the board that in your strategic plan, that building on 22nd Street, the orange and blue building, it can be outfitted to service some jump starts if people are sincere. And that even some of the partners with this development, I think you should look at their track record. Because if they had really done enough in our community, we would see a better economic footprint, and we do not see it. So I'm here to listen and to carry back to the community what would be the outcome of some of these discussions. Thank you.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Brittany. Anybody else have public comment? Please state your name.
Good evening, Allison Hewitt. So first I want to say thank you, CAC, for your support of the to have the information sent out in advance, so we're able to prepare our comments. Still not easy to find it online, but thank you, Cedric McCray, for sending it out upon request. One of the agenda items, as we go down the agenda items, my comment. Well, we have the East Tampa Industrial District. Challenge with that one is it's 117 units. When we had the Economic Development Committee, they made several presentations, but the residents that attended those committees before it was disbanded really wanted to make sure we have very limited space and land in East Tampa to do some affordable housing. In their data, in the presentation, the median household income is $24,000. In a most recent housing study that was submitted to the city of Tampa, we have now an overflow of 120% AMI. So I am asking that if we do invest in this, that we are investing in housing that people in East Tampa can afford to live in. And 120% AMI at a $24,000 median income, really not going to be helpful. So, and also part of what the EDC does is to help big businesses come here. And so could they potentially also look at the industrial district and see if any of those areas there can be partnered to have them grow their industrial to be able to hire more in East Tampa. Next is the environmental detective. Great report. One of my recommendations is, now that we have this grant program, are we coordinating with the environmental detective to, as they're going down these businesses, and because some of them have whole corridors. And so if we're having one that's a bad seed, will the staff to do some economic growth be able to take those grants, and so maybe not have that one blighted store, but can we go to the other stores there to do a facade or do a commercial grant? And that way we are improving the district, the actual street, rather than just focusing on one of the problem businesses. The other thing too, I would like to say thank you. The home ownership, homeowner occupied rehab program. This team is very patient in explaining to seniors the process. I actually sat through 2 meetings when they talked to the seniors about the process, about what's going to happen, and they repeated themselves several times. They didn't get impatient, as well as when it came down to the details. And if a couple of them had some incorrect staff incorrection there, staff did not get offended. They said, yes, that is a mistake. We will fix it. And they really took an effort into making sure that those seniors that came in were listened to. And I really appreciate that. So I want to thank the housing staff for how they're dealing with the seniors who are coming in with the homeowner occupied rehab program. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Would anybody else like to make a public comment? Seeing none in person, like to go online. If you'd like to make a public comment, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. Seeing none online.
My name is Keela McCaskill. Sorry, I can't be present. Normally, I like to be in the room, but I'm Keela McCaskill, a community advocate in the area, also an East Tampa resident. And I am specifically calling in today about the proposal of the shiny object over in the industrial area. My concern is that the EDC has been receiving money from the city of Tampa. I think the sum has been about $500,000 for the last 10, 15 years. And not a dime, not one dime, not one receipt has shown that they've supported East Tampa in any way with the dollars that they've received. My second concern is that we have training in East Tampa. We have lots of people offering training in East Tampa, and they've been offering this training for 10 plus years or better. Every organization that offers some of that training, those listed in that presentation, and the income medium hasn't gone up significantly to support spending any money from this CRA to bring in more training. That's not going to change that income medium. And if it is changing it, you all should be asking for those receipts. And in the event that you feel so inclined to support this project because you can't, see past what I'm saying, then why EDC? Like I said, they've not spent a dime, not one dime, not one cleanup effort, nothing in East Tampa that we've seen in years. And the only time they do come to this meeting is when they're begging for some money. My concern is that there's organizations, CDC does the same thing. Use CDC, even though they're listed, use the CDC, use G3 Life Apps, use Career Source, use Grace Point, use the other organizations, Bubba. Some of those organizations, they do the same thing. Don't just support the EDC. And some of the organizations that they've listed, they also don't support East Tampa. We need to understand that this CRA should not become a slush fund. 2 men, African American, come present to you a presentation. The rest of the organization is not. They don't spend money in East Tampa. They are not in East Tampa. We need to support the organizations that's in East Tampa that's supporting the residents of East Tampa. Find the other organizations that do the work outside of the people that they have listed in the presentation, if you just have to have it. But I know Sulphur Springs is begging for some type of an investment. Go there. USF is applying for a grant. I think it's about $400 million to do this work that they're doing or more. Use that money and go somewhere else and put it. But we don't need another training facility in East Tampa. And you have other organizations like Grace Point, who's not included in that can assist in building some affordable housing for the lower income tier. We cannot allow that CRA to become a slush fund, because I don't understand why we would do this. We don't really need training. We need more housing. And there's a lot of projects that's coming your way this year regarding housing on the affordable side, not the higher AMI, which is, up to $70,000, $80,000. We don't need more of that. We need that lower tier for the low income resident in East Tampa to participate. Again, we've got lots of training. and it has not changed the bottom lines in East Tampa in terms of income. We don't need more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Would anybody that's online like to make a public comment? If you can, please unmute yourself. Just a reminder that we do have a 3-minute limit to allow participate in public comments. Seeing none online, let's thank everybody for your comments. We'll then move on to the action items, starting with approval of the October 1st meeting minutes.
Motion to approve as presented and drafted.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second. All right. Any comments on? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Unopposed, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to item number 4A, the East Tampa Industrial District. Okay, it's a little bit of change in the order of the agenda. We're going to first start with the East Tampa Environmental Detective, with Detective Washington.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
And Happy New Year.
Here.
Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Faith, etc. The new board members. My name is Andrew Washington, detective with the Tampa Police Department, assigned to the CRA, East Tampa. That's my contact information. Right now I work out of the District 3 office. Right now I'm out of the District 3 office, 3808 North 22nd Street. My email address, andrew.washington@tampagov.net. And those are the numbers that could be reached at. The mission of the Tampa Police Department is to work in partnership with our community to reduce crime, improve quality of life, and make Tampa a safer place to live together. All right, for the CRA, I came up with this here slogan, staple, clean, safe, attractive place to live. For those of y'all who haven't heard me say this before, everybody in the country want those things right there. Clean, safe, attractive place to live. All right, how are we going to do that? Or how I'm going to attempt to do that? I'm going to use the CRA mission. And out of the CRA mission statement, my job is to enhance the quality of life. That means go after the illegal dumping, go after those abate business owners and property owners that don't take care of their properties. And they also is like a sore eye to the community. How am I going to do all these things? I'm going to attempt to educate the residents, the business owners on the city codes. And actually and also my thing, like I like to say, well, you may not want to sell your house now, but if something happened to you, maybe your children that inherit the house, they might not want to live in it. So if you cause the property value of your own home to go down, when you go to sell it, you're going to have to sell it at a lesser cost, or you're not going to get what it's worth. So it'll be, if you help keep up your property while you're alive and take advantage of all the stuff that if something like that does happen, the burden won't be left onto your family members. And same as for business owners. Business owners, you're going to have to abide by the rules. You're going to have to make sure that you're not selling alcohol after hours. You're going to make sure that you got proper lighting and stuff in your parking lot. You're going to make sure you're not letting people camp out and sell items and merchandise from your parking lot that sometimes causes other crimes to the community. East Tampa residents, stay consistent with calling Tampa Police Department. Emergencies, 911, non-emergencies, 813-231-6130. business owners, integrate aggressive tow companies. Don't let people park into your businesses and then walk off into the neighborhoods to do whatever. Obey all business laws and alcohol and tobacco, as I mentioned. All right, TPD strategies, recurring location checks daily until further notice, ticketing and towing any vehicles unlawful to park in East Tampa on several of the streets. In the East Tampa neighborhoods, like the bigger fire trucks, sometimes they can't get down the streets because people are illegal parked, and it's, if someone's house is on fire, it just creates chaos because the fire department, they go down the street not knowing that they can clear it. They're going to have to stop. Then they're going to have to call us to find out who owns the car to get them to move so they can get through, and it just saves time. This is what a recurring call looks like. So basically, at this location, they were having problems in that parking lot with people parking their cars and going off into the neighborhoods, doing whatever, or it's just a hangout spot. For years, we've always came here on a Saturday and hung out. Sometimes that lead to arguments. People end up getting assaulted with firearms, or we have assaults and stuff like that. So prevent all that stuff. If the property owner is not going to call, the business owner, this is a business. If that person is not going to call the police department to have us push those people along or to trespass them off their property, what I have done, I have written down all the businesses that carry on like that, and the owners refuse to change the conduct that happens on their property. And what I do, I have the officers are dispatched there, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 4 times a day, between the hours that the people congregate in the parking lot. And what the officers must do, they must enter clear remarks to the call, check for people loitering, drinking alcohol. That 39 is like people dealing narcotics in there. And if they are, they need to address it. Now, to make sure the officers are doing that, this is one that's been cleared. All right. As you can see, it's got my name on there. I'm the call taker. All right. And it tells you which officers went out there. All right. And they have to put in what they see. All right. No one in the right of way setup. So this one was where people were parking on the streets. They had opening car tables, gambling games going on right in the middle of that alleyway. All right. So now let's just say if they went there and that was going on and they put that in there, no one on the right of way. And then let's just say this young lady calls and says, look, I have video of them being out there. I have video of the officers coming by and not doing anything. This takes care of that. So now they're either being untruthful or that video is from another day or something. So this makes the officers do what they're supposed to do. And I have about 12 of those set up right now throughout just in East Tampa. Also, I'd like to integrate the crime prevention through environmental design, which is called the CTEP program. All right, basically what it does, apply to crime prevention through environmental design model throughout East Tampa's neighborhood. The program involves proper design and effective use of physical environment to achieve more productive use of space and reduction of crime. So basically what I want to do is start thinking like the criminal. All right. So if I was a criminal, all right, I'm gonna think like a criminal. So if I think like a criminal, I'm not gonna want to go where I may get caught, or there's a lot of eyes on me, or there's a lot of lighting, or I have no hitting places to hide my activity. All right. So basically in this, which one of these photos you'd rather be walking? The top one or the bottom?
Bottom.
You'd rather be walking the bottom?
The bottom.
If you're the criminal,
Yeah.
right? But if this was your family member, where would you want them to be at?
The top.
Right. If your house was, where would you want your house to be located?
Top.
Top one. All right, and that's the design model that I'm trying to bring throughout these Tampa neighborhoods. All right, and the way to do this is to meet with each and every neighborhood association president. All right. And figure out what their members in their neighborhoods want. What do they want? Which part of that neighborhood do they fear the most? All right, which store in that neighborhood do they hate going to? If you do, why do you hate going to that store? And what this model does is fixes this. So in this bottom model, we would light it up. All right, the top model, we would actually put some lights maybe on this side. Okay, so so basically, I introduced this CTEP model to the neighborhoods, encourage participation amongst the members. So the members of the neighborhood. So basically what I do is like, say right now, if we were all part of a neighborhood association, I'd say, sir, what street would you not want to walk your dog down? You would say it. And then someone would be like, oh yeah, there's something blah. Maybe we cut the trees out. Maybe we add some more lighting. Maybe we put some curbing in the road, like, so basically they can bring the road smaller to where you're forced to slow down, but then you can continue. So say if the speed limit was, let's say the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. All right, so you put these curbings there where they basically have to slow down to about 20 miles. Because if not, it looks like they may gonna hit a car head on. So they slow down and then it opens back up. It's almost like bringing the road like this, bring it smaller, then it widens back out. And it's all done by just putting, instead of the humps being across the road, they're like from the sidewalk in a little bit. Does anybody follow me? So like I said, it's the best way to do it is to attend the neighborhood associations meetings and explain it to the community. And that way they know what they need to change or want to. Maybe you have a park or something that, you know, there's tons of homeless people hanging out there. But let's see how we can change that environment so they don't want to hang out there, et cetera.
Officer Washington, really quickly, do you have tentative dates on when you're going to meet with those individual associations?
So basically, everybody will get an email from me, the presidents of the neighborhoods, and then I would coordinate with them the date that they want me to show up.
Okay.
All right, so let's just keep in mind that these progress takes about 3 to 4 months just to come up with a good ideal and a good plan and make sure you got the funding and stuff. Even like with funding, your partnership with people, with other organizations and companies to help, you know, lighten the burden. And also you might want their ideals too, you know, so. All right, so we'll stay on this for a second. All right, so for instance, let's go to, someone mentioned about the store, like a store that may need a facelift or something like that. This also addresses all that stuff too. This program is actually sponsored by the Attorney General's office. You have to go through them to get certified in order to present these presentations to a community. So in their program, they have all kinds of resources that you can pull into. And if you guys want to leapfrog me on it, you can actually go to the Florida Attorney General's website and go to crime prevention programs. And on there, you'll see the CTEP program. And it tells you everything you need to know about that. And when I meet with the neighborhood presidents, I'll go over it with them and before we have a meeting with their members. All right, so the next thing I just want to give you all an update on, starting back in January of 2024, certain business was going around dumping excess anywhere between 50 to about 200 tires, maybe about every 3 weeks. By the time I got onto this MO, it was about every 3 weeks. And what he was doing was dumping them in vacant lots. So if you had a vacant lot, you came home, where did all these tires come from? All right, so what they were doing was renting a U-Haul truck to do the tires. So every day, so once I caught on to the guy's MO, if there was a load of tires dumped, I've checked with U-Haul, yes, he rented a U-Haul. Or his buddies or people that worked at the garage would rent a U-Haul truck. So it took me about 2 months of surveillance on him to catch him red-handed. Now, one thing with these illegal dumping cases is if they're not on video and you can't ID them and they're not caught red-handed, the state attorney's office will have a hard time prosecuting, right? Because we all know just because it's on video, you still have to prove that that's your suspect. All right. So in this scenario here, there's the tires that they dumped. This is after the fact. It was about 7:30 one night. I sat up on them and sure enough, boom, here comes the U-Haul truck. All right, we sat there and wait till they load up. I get air service. That's a shot from our helicopter there after they dumped the tires. This is them when we're getting ready to arrest them. And that's them getting out of the car. So it was two gentlemen. So since that day, we have not had tires dumped in East Tampa. I'm not saying that there hasn't been tires dumped anywhere else, but in East Tampa, they have not been there. I won't mention the name of the auto shop because FDLE is looking at shutting it down. Okay, so that's the consequence. There's no, we're going to seek back their restitution. But I'm thinking, Jesus, each load of tires, maybe $500 every time. Neighborhood enhancement picks them up and takes them to the tire recycling bin. I think it cost them about that much, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I'm just not sure. Okay, but we're going to try to seek restitution on all that money on them. Plus, like I said, we're going to shut that shop down. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So I love that you guys are looking at increasing lighting. I'm from the transportation planning world. And we talk about environmental factors for improving safety and all that, including more lighting.
Yes.
But all lighting is not created equal. So our lighting in Tampa is designed for cars because it's really up high to get like a broader sweep of light, but it's not good quality light. So where there is lighting that is brought down closer to the street, and maybe it's something cute like a old timey looking light pole, it not only increases the attractiveness of the area, but it also is more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. So I was wondering, two things. Does this program from the Attorney General come with funding for the lighting improvements?
Like I said, they have a whole resource, all right, to like dig in there and figure out what we need. I won't know what we could find, but I'm positive that they do.
Okay.
But also, we could partner with Tico, we could figure it out. Now, what you're talking about, so you would want to go from the glove light cover to the shoebox type. So what the shoebox type is, force all the light down instead of forcing it out. So you don't have an overflow or basically a trespass of light. That's the way they would call it.
Yeah, and just
Right.
bringing it lower on the pole in general as well.
Right. And we would also do something like that with parks and, other parking lots and areas and stuff throughout the neighborhood. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Would that also include flashing beacon lights?
For pedestrians?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. We need them desperately on one at least on
Oh, yeah.
third.
Like I said, every neighborhood has their own individual issues. And the only way we're gonna know that is we meet with them. And we ask them, says, okay, this is your opportunity to participate
Yes.
as well as put some input in it. That way, we're just not walking in and say, well, we didn't want those lights. We like that tree. Why did he cut it down? You know what I mean? That's to prevent that stuff. Yes, ma'am, again.
Sorry, so does the resource page have best practices around like the type of lighting like I just mentioned, but also like touching on places that will have like multiple benefits, such as bus stops?
Yes. Well, speaking of bus stops, in this model, in some places, they ask you to take the benches out. So because the residents that live there don't really use the bus stop, but people hang out on them all day. So that's why you have to ask the residents, what do you want? Do you like this bus stop being there? Because they may not like it there. It may be more of a burden to them than to walk another block to another bus stop. Who knows?
And I think that like resident needs and opinions are important, but is there best practices that are being looked at? And if so,
Yes.
what are those resources and references?
Yeah, that would be on the reference page. Like I said, when I meet with the groups, that's when you'll be exposed to all the information. But you can go on the website and look at it pretty ahead of time.
Officer Washington, again, just want to rephrase my question that I asked earlier. Is the meeting with the presidents a first quarter initiative for yourself, a second quarter initiative for yourself? When will those meetings be complete?
They should be done by, let's say, March.
March?
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody has one.
Okay.
Once a month, right?
Yep. Okay.
Just a matter of me reaching out to them saying, hey, when do you want me to come out?
So, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Captain Washington. It's the time we're gonna, at this point. Good. All right, so. I will move back up in the agenda to presentations, starting with the East Tampa Industrial presentation by Tony Brown and the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the CAC, hi, my name is Tony Brown. I'm the Vice President of Community Development for the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. And I'm also the Executive Director of Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. And I came to talk to you tonight, not about the shining object. I came to talk to you about how do we enrich and empower the lives of the residents of East Tampa. I have spent a couple of years attending these meetings, meeting with residents to understand the needs of our community and how we, the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council, can play a role, can be your partner in eradicating poverty, in helping residents, most of whom live in communities where the unemployment rate is 10 times higher than the average employment rate here in Hillsborough County. So I'm not here to talk about the shining object. Oh, no. I'm here to talk and what we can do together to enrich that. So I'm going to talk about Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. It is a subsidiary of the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. And then I'm going to bridge into our Inclusive Economic Growth Initiative, which is the part about our residents, about the impediments that they have to employment and what we can do collectively as a community to eradicate those barriers or to help eradicate those barriers. And then I will go into the study effort. We spent over a year in talking to your businesses in the industrial district. 37 property owners contribute anywhere between 15 to 20% of your annual TIF. In the industrial district, just those 37 properties make a major contribution to the importance of what you do to improve our community. So Opportunity Tampa Bay, as I mentioned, is a subsidiary of the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. It was formed to work with local economic development partners in the development of catalytic projects and targeted redevelopment projects. We are a relatively new organization, but you can see the members of our board. Collectively, the members of our board have nearly 200 years worth of experience in trying to make Tampa a better place to live. Suncoast Credit Union, 90.
Right.
Excuse me, everybody online, can you make sure that you're muted, please? Thank you.
Just with Suncoast Credit Union, they have been 90 years in this community, and they have grown to become our state's largest credit union and our nation's largest community development financial institution, again, looking to impact the lives of low-income residents in our community. And so I'll talk about the Live, Learn, Development, which is the first project for Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. And I'm gonna ask some of the board members that are present to just please stand. So if I gotta give this presentation, don't be shy. Please stand and wave. So we have several of our board members present. Craig Richard to my right, your left, is the president of our organization and also the chair of Tampa Bay, of Opportunity Tampa Bay, Inc. So it is the EDC's mission to advance our local economy and to do it in a way that is beneficial for all of us. We do not receive a grant from the city of Tampa. We do not receive a grant from the county. We have a service contract. That service contract requires us to recruit companies to help existing companies expand and stay. And that contract require us, as we bring those companies in, to get new jobs and for those companies to make an investment in our community. So I just wanted to bring out that we are a business economic development organization, but it was several years ago that the leadership of the EDC said, look, Tampa is growing, and you all know, and you've been here longer than I've been here going on my 4th year. I spent nearly 40 years in the community economic development field, and Tampa is growing, but Tampa isn't growing everywhere. And you know that better than I. And so the EDC's inclusive economic growth strategy started with the focus to how can we, in working with our city partners primarily, how can we impact the lives of residents in East Tampa, in the Central Park, Ybor area, and in Uptown. A foundation was created by our investors. And when they made the investment into the foundation, their direction to our leadership, to my boss, was you can't spread around a couple of $1 million. You need to focus. And we want that focus to be in East Tampa. And so we got in the car with one of the council members at the time. Around at the same time, you were working on updating the CRA plan. This is about the time that I came and you updated your strategic plan. And so we saw the opportunity, because rightfully so, right? We know that this is the largest CRA in the state. It is significantly residential neighborhood housing. And so we understand all the 5 issues related to your CRA plan, but we wanted to focus as your partner on what can we do in the field of education, employment, and job creation. That's our lane. And so what I hope you hear today is that we listen, and that in listening, we're coming up hopefully with the plan, as I said, to improve the lives of our residents. So by being an economic development organization, one of the tools that we have is our market research arm. In what we do as a business organization, our market research arm is second to none. And so one of the first things that we did, we know that Tampa has one of the strongest manufacturing base in the state. And so I'm going to introduce shortly Dr. Nancy Diaz El Said, but the University of South Florida came to EDC and they said, look, we're going after a grant. And we want a grant for our Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. And we want the EDC, we want President Richard to do a letter of support. And so Craig said, well, we think we can do one better. That given our growing and significant manufacturing base, why not you put the Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute in Tampa? And this looked like a busy slide, but the red area is where we have our manufacturing clusters. And then that bottom inset to the right is sort of a blowout of the East Tampa Industrial District. And what we learned is that East Tampa is strategically located, that from the industrial district, you're a 30-minute drive to 900 manufacturers that employ over 26,000 people. We also know from our analysis is that the residents that live in East Tampa aren't benefiting from these jobs. And so when we went to the university and President Long, we said, yes, we will support your efforts for a grant, but we need an anchor that's going to provide good paying jobs for the residents of East Tampa. Again, because of our market research arm, we also know that from East Tampa to the Uptown area, when you go up to Fowler, you have 20, this is the federal definition, so I don't mean to be disrespectful. You have 20 persistently distressed census tracts. They are all contiguous, where 27,000 prime age workers, your neighbors, your friends, maybe some of your family members between the ages of 25 to 54 years old experience unemployment rates that's 10 times higher than the county's average. So when I say I'm not here to talk about the shining object, I'm talking about what can we do to change that statistic. That's why we're here, and this is why we exist. So we spent over a year, and Ms. Hewitt was she was chairing your Economic Development Committee, and we made sure, the state and others, that we didn't do this in isolation. So we spent time talking to the businesses in the industrial district. When you come from, so you see, you know this better than I, when you come from Orlando to our downtown, you pass through East Tampa. And the first thing you see are these rusted roofs, holes in those roofs. And we know that the economic vitality of these businesses is better than what you see. We have walked in all of those businesses, and we've seen a very vibrant economic opportunity. I like showing the picture in the bottom left. This is where the former Clorox company operated. One of our nation's largest selling household cleaners. That building has been empty now for at least 6-7 years. So as a business organization, if someone called us and said, we're looking for an industrial property of about 40,000 square feet, and we took them to this site and they say, yes, the property will work. But when you go through the neighborhood, as Detective Washington indicated, it feels unsafe. The businesses here have razor wires, chain link fence. If I'm I gave you the 25-year-old statistic. As I walk the streets looking to talk to the businesses, there is not a welcome sign. There's no sign to tell me where the office is. And the first thing you do when you walk into the parking lot, I'm a suspect. And can you imagine if I'm a suspect, how some of our young adults would feel walking to those businesses and how they would be treated when all they're looking for is a job opportunity. So when we talk to these businesses and we followed up with Mr. McCrae, 5 minutes, thank you. And we followed up with Mr. McCrae, we asked these businesses, what can we do to enhance the economic vitality? And they came up with these programs, and these programs we think were the predecessor to the city consolidating many of its programs, because what we found out, that the example I was using is that these are large properties, and in order to have large economic impact, there had to be major dollars to influence that. So we presented the plan, and in presenting the plan, the city acquired this property. This property was not acquired with CRA dollars. It was acquired with federal dollars, with HUD dollars, and they put out an RFP for a live, learn hub. And we responded with that live, learn hub with this development here. So on this site is nearly a $90 million investment, 117 units of housing. And I imagine during the Q&A period, I'll ask Kareem Brantley to talk about the housing price points. It is 100% affordable housing project. The parking is underneath the building, given the manner of density. Integral is one of our nation's largest African-American owned developers, and Kareem is the president of Integral Florida. The economic development component. I talked about USF, positioning the region as a national leader in manufacturing in order to create pathways for higher wages. Yes, the building is intended to spark a revitalization in Columbus Drive. 35 property owners that have taxable properties of well over $6 million, and those properties have not flipped. We've looked at the sales thing. The real estate doesn't flip. They've owned these properties for years, and so we feel that if we can create a catalytic development to improve the area and make it more uniform, make it more welcoming. In the brochure, you see some of the career source programs. I think one of your speakers said we should be working with other organizations, and she is absolutely correct, because we do. We have a career source employee embedded in our in the brochure. In the brochure, you can see the career source programs that we've told some of these businesses to take advantage of in terms of hiring and employment. CDC of Tampa is going to relocate its vocational institute to the Innovation Center. Pittsburgh Community College is going to relocate their culinary arts program. And when we presented this, it was Dr. Atwater, who chairs our foundation, who said he would like to relocate his culinary arts program to East Tampa. And it's not about getting folks jobs in McDonald's. It's about somebody who wants to own and start a restaurant. It's about somebody that wants to start a food truck or who wants to do catering. This isn't about putting folks in McDonald's. It's about creating entrepreneurs. And then also creating entrepreneurs in the relocation of the Vocational Institute. Ernest is going to develop a fabrication lab. So we know we got lots of young men and women who are handy, who can create furniture. So they'll have a place to go where they can do fabricated prototypes. And then I talked about USF relocating, actually implementing the Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. And this isn't a pipe dream. We have one of the best academic research institutions in our region that's in the country. They are a member of AAU, and you don't just join AAU, you have to be invited. They are a top research university. And so having East Tampa to be the location of that Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute is to help ensure that our residents can learn how to utilize the latest technology for advanced manufacturing to get a good paying job and to help eliminate poverty and unemployment in those 20 contiguous census tracts. That's my presentation. If there's time for questions, Mr. Chair, I'll entertain.
Okay. Vice Chair, but it's all good. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have time for 4 questions if we can. Okay, then.
So,
I'm sorry. Yes.
So apologies if I missed it. The 117 unit affordable housing development, what is the AMI of?
The question is of the 117 units, what's the AMI of the residential development?
Hi, good evening. Kareem Brantley with Integral, and I just want to introduce myself before I answer a question. I'm walking, and I want to make sure everyone knows that I'm here with Integral Florida. It's a pleasure to be part of the development approach with the Tampa Bay Economic Development Community Council. And the question is the income by AMI. So nothing in this development will be greater than 80% AMI. So 20% of the units will all be below 50 and below. The remainder of that 60% will be between that 20 and 80%. So we have certainly not created a development concept that is out of touch with the neighborhood. That said, we want to make sure that we emphasize a development that has mixed income. So we're not trying to say everybody who makes less than $20,000 or $30,000 a year live in this development. We don't think that that's healthy community development. However, we do know that it's not satisfactory to us nor to many communities that we develop in, come into communities and say we're going to put market rate housing and then make it naturally where people have to be flushed out of those communities because they cannot afford the price points as things continue to travel up. The other thing that's important to note about a development and a developer like Integral, we work in conjunction with the city and with the governments that we do business with. So this will be 50 years to 99 years of housing that, yes, it will move up with as incomes rise, because we don't always want to say it's going to only have people that make $20,000. But as incomes naturally rise in the neighborhood, the covenant will still run with the property that is still based on the AMI. So as the AMI categories move up, because the incomes are actually moving up because of opportunities in the neighborhood, that will continue to stay with the property. So we don't get an opportunity to go into the marketplace and sell the property because it will be restricted for a long period of time. And your government has asked us to do that. We have obliged and said we will do that. And we think that that is just the right thing to do when you develop in neighborhoods. So I hope I answered your question.
Quick follow-up, with it being HUD funds, I assume that it's CDBG, but what is the mix of HUD funds or subsidy that will be used?
So I believe the HUD dollars were used to acquire the property. I don't want to speak about how the city used its budget allocation with HUD to do that. We don't have anything to do with that. What we do is we get a leverage financial approach in our capital stack that includes dollars from the state, that would include local dollars. So, and that also would include dollars that we can go find in grants. So in many of our projects, we do, we get monies from, for solar installations on the rooftop, right? Those solar installations also provide shade for the AC units that we put out on the roof. So what we found in the last probably about 10 years since we started doing this, that it helps the property maintain a better health over time. So those AC units aren't just sitting there baking in the sun, and we got a tax credit for providing an environmental sensitive installation into the building. So we'll work through all of that. We're not there yet. We're not at a design. We will work with the community. We want to make sure that we're not just coming in doing something that's insensitive, that maybe has a design that hasn't been taken into account. Where residents and in the community have had a time to talk to us about it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is not market rate housing. This is not housing that's pushing people out of this community. This is designed for people of the community to have a place to live and be proud of the place they live, and to do it in conjunction with an economic development component. We have done this before. We've done this in Miami-Dade County, where we have an economic component that's separate and apart from the housing. And it works very well. And we could not be more proud to be a partner with Tampa Bay Economic Development Council.
The gentleman actually answered my questions. So, thank you.
So firstly, thank you so much for coming this evening to share this presentation with us. It looks like you've done your due diligence by doing community outreach since 2022. I do recall a time when you came to us and you talked to us about this, so I appreciate you following back up with us. My understanding is that you are going to create an East Tampa Works in our industrial site in East Tampa. Similar to what I believe you're doing over now in downtown area with the Tampa Medical and Research Hub, correct? Something similar to that, but we'll be more focused on the industrial side of things, correct?
Somewhat correct, yes. Our organization also manage what was newly created as the Tampa Medical and Research District. And so it'll have a different strategy. It'll be about how can we recruit and enhance our cluster of healthcare and life science industry around USF Health, Tampa General Hospital, Moffitt, and the like. So similar strategy, different focus.
So that leads me to my second question with the USF and their role in this. So my understanding is that this is really focused on smart manufacturing, because Florida is rising in the manufacturing business, and smart manufacturing is what we're using now, straight through processing. That's something that is really on the rise throughout the whole country. And my understanding is that USF received a grant so that they can develop, I believe it was called Intro to Production Systems. It's a certificate program. And that was something that was in 2023, and that it's going to start off with 15 to 30 students to pilot that program. So if the goal is to create a whole new career pathway in the manufacturing business and to bring in business that's going to match that in East Tampa's industrial district, I support that 100%. But I am curious as to where we are at with that certificate program.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Mr. Brown.
Thank you for the background, Tony. So I am Dr. Nancy Diaz-El-Sayed. I am also the program director for the Introduction to Production Systems program and a faculty in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And so I was one of those initial faculty members that began to approach the EDC with this opportunity and idea for a Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute, because we have seen the growing trends in the state of Florida with respect to advanced manufacturing and how we could move our small to medium manufacturers to more automated and advanced capabilities. Because what does that mean for the employees? That also means that we have the opportunity to upskill them and offer higher paying jobs. as well. And so there was a good fit with the College of Engineering because we have a strong focus on mechatronics, robotics, additive manufacturing processes, subtractive manufacturing processes, and so forth. And so when we were talking about the SMII, or the Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute, the project that is funding since 2023, the certificate program was funded by the Tourist Foundation. And it is with that intention to create career pathways for our local residents. And so we started with the pilot program in 2023, and we actually worked with our partners here at the Tampa Vocational Institute to offer that pilot offering. And we're currently working out of the Encore Community Job Training Center because it was central to achieving this grant for us to be within a close proximity of our local residents. And so we've been recruiting, and currently we're offering 2 cohorts per year where we are graduating between 10 to 15 students from our program, and they are learning those advanced capabilities. They're operating robots, for example. They're learning how to use CNC machining centers. They're learning about additive manufacturing processes, and we're even bringing them down to the very basic skills. So we anticipate, we don't exclude anybody as long as they have a high school diploma. They're able to join the program, and we prioritize residents that are underemployed. So they could be employed, but not in the great fit, maybe getting minimum paid job, or unemployed entirely and just looking to upskill their capabilities. And so those are the residents that we are currently focusing on.
Is this going to be, because again, my understanding was that this is going to be on site. This is going to be an on-site certificate program for the East Tampa residents. So is that pilot program, once you get the outcome and you see that it's working, that's then the goal is to transition this into East Tampa on that site, right? So that could be offered out to the residents here. So those young kids that are coming out from high school and they want to go into that program. My other, it's a little concern, certificate program, great. It's a start, it's a stepping stone, right? To level up to, because most of those positions require a graduate degree for the engineering. So I was just curious at the certificate level, what could be the annual salary someone could expect? And then what would be the pathway for them then to go on to get an associate's or a bachelor's degree? Because it's a great career, but it is a long pathway. And I do love that you're going to offer that first level. But I think it's also important that people understand that it's quite a commitment, that maybe that first level, entry level position may not be sustainable if you're young and you want to start a family and you want to buy your own home and all stay within East Tampa. So I wasn't sure if you had like a follow-up action plan. I know it's still early in the stages, but just thinking long term, certificate programs are great, but they're really meant to just be a building block to continue to level up. So I didn't know if you guys have thought a little bit further down the line beyond a certificate program.
Okay.
And just real quick, after this, we're gonna have to go to Ms. Tate just in the interest of time, so please.
Okay. Okay. So going back to your initial question, the USF currently doesn't have any space within the East Tampa community, so we've been having to lease or work with negotiations with existing organizations in order to utilize space. So we would effectively transition our current program, which is at the Encore Community Job Training Center, to the SMII in order to ease the proximity to our location. And to give you some anecdotes with respect to our graduates, so we've had 4 graduating classes thus far, the most recent just on December 13 of 2024. And we've seen quite a large range in the diversity of our students that we've been attracting. Some of them are immigrant refugees that live in our Tampa Bay area, and some of them even come with prior engineering degrees. But they face different obstacles than somebody that would have gotten an engineering degree here, whether they're taking ESOL classes to improve their English, for example, whether they are currently unemployed and not able to accommodate the needs of their family. But we try to work with an individual on a case-by-case basis. So thankfully, with a collaboration with HCPS, our Hillsborough County Public School Adult Education Program, we've been able to support them, for example, in finding opportunities for childcare, if that's something that they need, as well as bus passes if transportation is an issue for them. And So depending on where they are, if somebody comes to us and they had a prior engineering degree, for example, they might be interested in a more technically advanced position. And so those types of roles can land you anywhere between like 30, 50, even $60 per hour at a firm. But if they're coming in and then they just have a high school diploma and then they need something entry level, they haven't had any manufacturing experience, then they might be looking at anywhere, up to $17 to $20 per hour as an entry level role. And you spoke about a long career pathway. The certificate program that we're offering, initially it was a boot camp, just focused 1 month, so 4 weeks, full time, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that included factory tours as well as on-site curriculum at the TBI. We found that was too intense for students. And we now are offering a lot of flexibilities in case they're working part-time, or in case they're taking morning classes. EASL classes, for example, is in many cases of our students. And so we've transitioned that now to a 3-month program offered twice a week. And the latest cohort, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., just based off of the needs that we've been seeing with the students that we've been serving.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you clarify that and share that with all of us, because I think that is the true purpose of this whole East Tampa Industrial Park, is to create a whole new career pathway other than culinary, because we know that we've been there, done that, even though it is a top, field in the state of Florida. So thank you for
Of course.
explaining that. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Tate.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation this evening. I'm looking at this page. So, Mr. Brown, so we're talking about a total population of 7,340 people. Can you explain this to me?
So this is only within those 2 or 3 census tracts. So the state is asking about in the
Just
report-
explain it. We've been talking and it's going on and we gotta leave. So 7,340 total
just
population.
in those 2 census tracts. In the
Okay.
graph.
And then you're 64% Black African American. Where'd you get it from?
This came from census data.
Okay. High school.
All this is from census data.
Okay, home value, medium income, 24, household unemployed. Okay, so you were tracking my population, my demographic. All right, now you said your wheelhouse is education, job employment. What makes me not want to go to the career source on Florida Avenue? An already established job training, organization, job placement, business training, business seeking individual, marrying it together. What makes me not want to come to them and want to come to you, who is trying to be established? But these people have already been established and have a track record of marrying the two of us together.
So the question might be the menu of training services. And there,
I think you are part of that organization.
Yeah, the CDC of Tampa is also a vendor with Career Sources.
Would you like-
Vendor with them, and then you're a vendor with him as well.
Correct. So the ultimate goal is to have the resources here in our community. We've sat here long enough and we've been through enough where we had USF doing a lot of research with our community. And our community residents said, we love the research, but we want USF here in our community. We want to make sure that our kids who are going to Middleton now have a track to go to college here in our community. So it's important to make sure we have our community have the resources that we need. If you know the history of East Tampa, College Hill is one of our communities. It was named College Hill because it was promised that we would have a college here, and that's why Black folks were being attracted to come to live in East Tampa, because it was promised that we would have a college. That promise was never delivered. This is an opportunity to deliver on that promise, to make sure that we have the resources available for our kids to grow up and have tracks. I don't want my kids or my grandkids to have to choose to go out of state, out of town to have a job. So this is the beginning steps of how do we attract those resources.
I love you. Pump your brakes. When are our children going to stop receiving a certificate of attendance? When are our children going to stop getting kicked out of school for merely a fight? When are our children going to stop getting kicked out of school for cussing a teacher out? When is that going to stop? They're not going to get into whatever you're trying to build until you all stop our children from being kicked out of school. Let's stop it, okay? Get that under control, and maybe you can build what you're trying to build and get our children into it. It is our children that are being locked up and kicked out of school. I know because I volunteer and I see it every day. You are a Black man. Get up there in that school and fix that problem.
And we have.
Middleton.
Yeah, we have.
Fix
programs
it.
at that
Fix
school.
it at Middleton. Fix it
You have
here.
you
The
have to
police
build the
department
system.
now, they can't even come and answer simple crimes. They gotta run to Middleton, they gotta run to Hillsborough High now. And stop fights every day with our kids. What are they fighting? And guess what? They're out of school now for the rest of the year. You take all your brothers, go up there and stop that. Talk to them brothers, them kids. You can't get this, you can't get it. You can't get it because these boys are getting kicked out every day. So stop sending us wolf tickets and go up there and fix that problem. You, Cedric, all of y'all, get up and go do that. I'm tired.
And we love the passion.
I'm tired.
We love the passion, but what we have to do is go beyond.
It's no passion, it's realistic. It's real.
All right, thank you for the comments. I just have one question. So I feel like a lot of folks in the initial public comments alluded to this, but do you have a ballpark of the ask as financial ask to the CRA?
We don't yet. As Kareem indicated, we have to go through the design process. As we do that in the proposal, we talked about the financial gap related to the housing. It is 100% affordable. The question is relative to the density, the parking requirements. So we have a range of what the gap will be. And we're getting direction from the city as to how quickly they want to go forward with the housing development, whether we do the 4% tax credit program or we go from the competitive 9%. And those of you that are in the affordable housing business know that if we compete for the 9% program, a gap of about $8 million get completely eliminated because of the value, or nearly eliminated because of the value of the tax credits. But it is so competitive, and it only happens once a year, that the offset is that instead of breaking ground by this time next year, it could be a 2 or 3 year cycle.
Do you all foresee the potential for any additional offsite improvements once this starts? Are there any?
Yeah, we anticipate there'll probably be infrastructure improvement. In fact, our engineer has already said we'll have to account for stormwater drainage of things of the nature. When you saw the picture of the water and catchment area with the fountains and everything, the thought is to run the stormwater down to that city land that is sort of just, I was going to say something almost negative, that is not enhanced as a community amenity. And so the thought is, as we solve for stormwater, can we make that site more of a community amenity? One of the things we also heard from the businesses is that there's no place convenient to go for lunch. And so you have the workers who have a lunch break and they end up, not to take anything away from President Lee, who's president of the Ybor City Chamber, but folks are leaving our community going to Ybor and other places just for lunch, and we don't have that convenient destination.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. And thank you for your question.
All right, then, moving on, we will go to item B in the presentations, which is the Faith Baptist Church, Osborne and 12th Street, by Bryce. Sorry if I.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Bryce Beringer. I'm the planner of CRA. For new members of the committee, welcome. We're super happy to have you here. Just to provide a little bit of a rundown and a little bit of history for this site. We had originally conducted our community outreach event back in May in coordination with our city planning department. And that was mainly just to get feedback from you all to see what you wanted for this site in particular. We took that information, city planning threw together 3 main development options and then presented those again to the CAC back in September. And now what we have is a nice updated preferred development option that they're going to present to you all. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Evan Johnson, our Chief Planner for the City of Tampa.
Hello, good to see you all again. And for those who are new, Evan Johnson with City Planning. I also wanted to introduce one of our new employees here. This is Jackson Strong. You can wave and say hi. He's one of our designers. So moving forward, I know some of you knew Andy. Jackson has kind of taken his role since Andy moved on to greener pastures. But I'm going to make this very quick. You all have seen most of these, but I'm here for questions if you have them. This is the site just for orientation, Curtis 12 Osborne, about 2.7 acres total that the CRA owns. Basically, this site is in the comprehensive plan, could potentially allow up to 43 residential units. A few years ago, there was a rezoning attempt on the site. A private developer came in, tried to rezone for a property that was essentially right around that 41 units. Eventually, City Council turned it down. The site also does allow some non-residential, so think small scale, coffee shop, some neighborhood retail type potential. Could be up to 45,000 square feet of space. Just that is a maximum potential on the site. We went through 2 workshops with you all last year and did a visual preference survey. So this was kind of just a summary slide around residential uses of things that the folks who came to the meeting preferred, liked in the review. These are basically small cottage courts. So it's single family homes around like a green space, usually smaller, wouldn't call them tiny homes, just smaller houses, usually more affordable. Here is a duplex, kind of townhome style 2-story that was preferred. We also got a lot of support of the single family. This is actually located right next to the property. And I believe has an accessory dwelling unit in the back. It's a new house. We got a lot of positive responses on neighborhood commercial. So obviously folks in the area were like the idea of having some access nearby. You know, we're all looking at small cafes, Lee's Grocery, those types of things in these examples. From a green space, this would be kind of your innovative stormwater system. Got a lot of positive votes. This is more passive recreation, playgrounds, etc., being things that folks wanted to see more of. Not so much dog parks in this instance. So, you know, whatever that's, we did not put a dog park on here. We did come, and Bryce mentioned we've had three different concepts that we developed over time. One was kind of single family only. 2 was a little bit of mix of residential types. So single family, maybe a townhomes, duplexes. And then we kind of worked through a preferred scenario. And this was preferred because we had discussions with the CAC and kind of got that direction from you all as to the direction we wanted to go. All 3 concepts did include improved sidewalks and streetscapes and, you know, nice trees on the street and things like that to improve the pedestrian experience, people walking around and so forth. I'm just going to show you a couple of images of the final. I believe this presentation in the packet. If not, we can.
Not this presentation.
We will get you these images so that you can look at them more closely. So I don't want to go through all of them, but basically you've got a mix of some single family houses, some duplexes. This would be those smaller houses, single family that we talked about earlier around kind of a courtyard of green. This is a commercial apartment. I believe we had 4 units or something like that in there with a just kind of laying out as an ideal, and some smaller single family homes here as well. We also had a couple of accessory dwelling units, which are allowed. Total units here is 23 units plus. I think we showed 4 accessory dwelling units on this, but in Seminole Heights, you're allowed to have accessory dwelling units. So any one of these single family homes could potentially have one, as long as you can park it and you can meet the use criteria that are in the code. This is kind of a layout here. One of the concerns that came up at the last meeting we had was making sure we could park it. we did go through, Jackson went through and made some modifications to internal parking just to ensure that we have more than enough parking inside the development. We do still have street parking proposed in several locations. We still think that's a good place for visitors to park in the neighborhood, or people who are using what this would be a small residential or small restaurant or cafe or something like that, commercial space up there. But we are over parked now internally. I believe we've got like 50 spaces, and we probably need about, I think we need like 44, something like that. And that's being pretty conservative. So we did want to make sure that we parked it this time around. This is an updated image. You all saw kind of a black and white version of a 3D image. And the interesting thing about this is we used, I did not, Jackson used the 3D from Google to kind of give some perspective and height and size of these houses, to give you a sense that it's all 1-2 story max. Generally trying to fit into the community as much as possible while also diversifying housing. CRA is very focused on making this as affordable as possible, affordable ownership opportunities. So that's why you see the mix of housing types. And this is just another view. That's that commercial. It's not a commercial building. It's a small apartment building. It's basically what we've done in that location, kind of looking to the southwest, I believe. Overall project schedule, we are right here. And in the next month, 2-3 months, I believe we're going to be working on a request for proposals.
So Mr. McCray will, the next step is to present this information to the CRA board staff. And then we're hoping by summer, the RFP for the housing portion of it will be able to be published. And really the main goal of that is to include what we have in these renderings and include what we've gotten in terms of feedback from the community, and present that to whoever wants to provide a bid. Once we are able to do that, we'll make a selection on what meets the community's needs the best, and then we can go ahead and move forward to developer selection. So one thing just to keep in mind is that these timeframes are still kind of general. We're not 100% sure when the housing RFP is going to be able to go because it's still being formulated with our housing section staff now. But this is just to provide kind of a status update of where we're at and what the next couple of steps are. So.
Glad to answer any questions. Hope that was fast enough.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so first, thank you guys. Been involved with this project as it is a block down from my house for over 2.5 years now, and meeting with Cedric back in September of 2023 with Erica Moody when she was the director of the CRA. And just the amount of time that you guys have put in to get comment from the public and have those town halls, that's very meaningful, specific for the folks that live in Southeast Seminole Heights. So I want to thank you for that. The building did experience some significant damage during the hurricanes. As you're aware, the steeple did fall over. I'm sure that there's probably some other damage in that building as well, on top of some folks continuing to live in what is a very unsafe building, considering that it does have asbestos and there is lead contamination in the water. What is the timeline right now with the demolition of that building?
You able to touch base on the timeline, Mr. McCray?
I can do that.
Oh,
This is-
yeah, go ahead, Melissa. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. This is Melissa Martinez, and I'm the Senior Project Manager for the Tampa CRA. We issue a purchase order to the demolition contractor. Currently, he's waiting for the demo permit to be issued to start working, first thing they have to do some environmental cleanup, lead paint on some of the buildings. Once that is removed, then they'll be able to start then doing the demolition. But one of the things that he's responsible for is, as soon as he receives the permit, is for him to install security fence all around the entire property, to be able to try to keep people out and not have kind of anybody start, going into the buildings, to keep it safe.
Melissa, as a follow-up, did they already submit for a permit?
Yeah, they submitted for a permit. We checked on it, as a matter of fact, today, because they're waiting. I think construction services is waiting for sign off from TICO and from, I think, the water department to make sure that everything's been capped before issuing the permit for demolition.
Do you think that at all possible that demolition would start prior to summer, so June?
Oh, yeah, yes. The minute that he has, and on your tracking reports, you should have actually the demo permit. I tried to include some of that information on the updates. But the minute that he receives the permit, he probably will start cleaning and demoing in the next couple of weeks after that. So I'm hoping that by mid-February, we should be done with that. It's just depending on the cleanup. Sometimes environmental cleanup can delay a little bit just because samples need to be taken before they're able to actually remove any of the debris from the property. And that needs to be approved by EPA.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure, you're welcome.
I do. So there's been a lot of work to date that's been done in collaboration with the community, and I think everybody can say we're really thankful that that's happened and the process has been that way. As it goes forward into the RFP process, how is the work to date being packaged? Is it a design criteria package that a developer would then need to follow? And then how much framework is put into that RFP in terms of maybe housing affordability, AMI, what the density mix is? Like, are there 4 apartments or are there 8 apartments? You know what I mean? Like, how much, I guess, how does that get structured going forward? Because there has been so much community input in this process.
I can only speak, I know Cedric and I are gonna be talking about it, so I don't want to speak about things because I don't work for the CRA. But generally, I mean, I think at least our intent that we've talked about is we don't want to be overly prescriptive, right? I don't want to say you must build X housing unit type, right? So, but I do want to make sure that we are within the range of units, that we are generally following the internal circulation and layout of the design that we developed here. I would say that some type of design criteria would be the way to go, plus some imagery, but this is draft imagery, right? With no actual, we don't have the survey and all that, and that needs to be taken. But so I would think that some detailed level of criteria, the expectation of this is what we expect to see, and ultimately proposal that I probably identifies types of financing or funding that they would like to see from the CRA to help them get the infrastructure built, which is going to be a big expense. And we're really trying to do a nice job with the infrastructure, I think, with the upgraded streetscape and et cetera. So I would think that that's how I got generally a shake from Cedric, so I didn't want to mislead anybody, but trying to be as detailed as possible without being too overly prescriptive with it, because there are a lot of good developers out there. And ultimately, the developers are going to have to go through a rezoning process when they come in, and we select them, and then they come through with their detailed proposal. There's going to have to be that rezoning that happens too. So they still have to work with the community, work with you all. They're not going to get through it, and they know that. And I think hopefully you all will be supportive, to continue to support the effort moving forward, because that'll make it.
Would they only have to go through the rezoning though for the commercial? Because it is still single family detached there. So what rezoning would have to take place in that area?
Ultimately, they will likely have to rezone because the mix of unit types and just maximizing some of the flexibility internally.
Gotcha.
It's generally laid out very similarly to the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay.
But knowing the way the city of Tampa code works generally, we were assuming a rezoning would have to happen.
Okay.
And then I saw Ms. Martinez has her hand raised online. We have time for one more question. And then
Hi, I just wanted for clarification really quick. B Parks is actually working on a template for RFPs for projects like this one. And as part of the RFP process is also, this presentation will be included as part of the scope of work for the developer. There's also opportunities for the affordable housing to take advantage of down payment assistance programs that the CRA also has. So I think that once Ms. Park has an RFP that has been approved by our legal department, then we would get able to kind of have her come to the CAC and do a presentation, so you have a better idea of how this project's moving forward will work.
any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there affordable housing included? I mean, I see a mix of housing types, which is
Yeah.
cool. I
Yeah.
didn't see that part.
So the money itself, the property itself was purchased with the intent of building affordable housing. And so as far as the specific percentages, set asides and all that, that's what the Parks and her team are working out, but it absolutely will have affordable housing throughout. And when I say affordable housing, I'm speaking under 120% AMI, but that, could be lower depending on the funding sources being used and so forth. So it's absolutely the intent, but as Melissa mentioned, could come back and talk a little bit about how that has evolved as far as what the target is and the template for developing, the specific set asides.
How many units was it? Because you said there's an apartment building,
There is 23 total units. on that
but you
site.
said there's 40 something allowed.
There's a maximum allowed under the comp plan for 43.
So it's only like half.
Right, it's only half.
With the 23, did that include the ADUs?
Did not include the ADUs. So it's the way we showed it on this one. I think it's 4 ADUs only, so it's like 27 total. But again, any of those single family homes could have an accessory dwelling unit without counting against the density caps.
So it
So
would be up to how many units if all of them did an ADU?
see 23 units and 19. I think the duplexes, if they're single family duplexes, could have them. So let's just say you get probably like 14 to 15 or so total. So another 10 to 12 maybe. That's off the cuff. I wasn't ready for that one, but.
Thank you.
Bryce, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to going back to staff reports. Now we're going to be on item B, which is the manager report from Mississippi. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So we have a few new faces at the table, or a couple. I'm gonna ask that we just kind of take the time to go around and introduce ourselves before I get into the manager's updates and then be out of here in short order. So we can start with Ms. Tate.
Brian Tate, Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association, President.
Ebony DaCosta.
And let me just expound just a little bit about your
About myself.
professionally, so that folks know, yes, neighborhoods, but
I know.
yes.
Ebony DaCosta. So I am a local real estate broker in Tampa native.
Hi, I'm new. I'm Dana Lazarus. I have a background in urban planning with a goal for social equity and sustainable transportation. I currently work for the Florida Housing Coalition, which is an affordable housing policy advisory organization. And I sit on some other committees and stuff, but I live in North Ybor, right by College Hills area. So that's me. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you.
Hi, so I'm Maida Martinez. Everyone knows me as Mimi. I'm the current president of Ybor Heights Neighborhood Association, and I'm also the current watch group coordinator. I am very active in the community and was a prior committee member of the East Tampa CAC back in 2020. So I'm very excited to be back. Also, I'm very active with THAN, which is the Tampa Homeowners Association of Neighborhoods throughout the city of Tampa. And so I'm just really excited to be back on this committee again, to be able to represent my neighborhood and to advocate for affordable housing and to keep every single neighborhood safe and clean, and most importantly, economically stable.
I'm Diane Ziegler. I've lived in Tampa for about 5 years. I am retired, but I have a background in engineering. I've worked in healthcare, manufacturing companies, and I'm very excited about this initiative for the industrial complex, and involved in a neighborhood association called New East Tampa. Help a lot with environment issues. Involved in any kind of fix-up project, Fix It Fast in East Tampa. So I'm a very active member in the community and very happy to be here.
Okay. My name is Carlos De La Osa. Been in Tampa now for 9 years. Homeowner in the Southeast Seminole Heights neighborhood. Professionally, I've been in the real estate development, national home building industries.
My name is Kim Headland. I am here on behalf of VM Ybor Neighborhood Association. I am an architect and have served on this CAC in the distant past and the EBOR CAC in the past. And I have lived in East Tampa, specifically via EBOR, for the last 25 years, almost 26.
Okay, good evening. My name is Cedric Carrington. I'm a native of East Tampa, born and raised in Belmont Heights and a member of the Belmont Heights, Historic Belmont Heights Community Association. I've lived throughout the Heights from Riverside Heights to Southeast Seminole Heights. I went to Edison and Hillsborough and Seminole Heights, so I can appreciate all the things that are being discussed this evening. I left here in '89, joined the Army, served in the Army for about 30 years, and I'm back home now. So I'm investing back into East Tampa as well. I'm glad to be here.
Good afternoon, my name is Craig Fox. Currently serving as the vice chair for this term. Day job is an environmental project manager with the Florida Department of Transportation. I've been in Tampa since 2013, and almost all of my in-laws live in East Tampa. So if vested interest, because I'm just gonna make the potlucks very awkward. I also volunteer for the Andrew Joseph Foundation, and my interests are in the uplifting the working class of East Tampa and increasing the safety and having practical economic solutions for the longest living residents of East Tampa.
All right, thank you. So we will be onboarding a couple more folks here in the next couple months, but I know we've had some folks roll off, so I felt it was it would be good just to kind of get an understanding of, you know, introducing yourselves and the skill sets that folks have at the table. Yes, ma'am.
Could we say something, Noreen Copeland Miller, please?
Yes, actually, I was saving that for the end,
Okay.
and I was hoping Ms. Henderson was going to be here this evening.
She's under the weather.
Oh, yes, yes. Ms. Gaines, is she still there?
I don't see her.
And we have several people that reached out here in the last 24 hours that told me they were under the weather, and I know there's some things going around. Ms. Gaines was one of them. So, yeah, she's right there. TG.
I should tell. She's on hold.
Okay. So I'll go through. In the essence of time, I won't go into all the details, but there were several requests at our last meeting in October related to information from the housing perspective, and I'm just gonna leave it with you. I killed a few trees for this meeting, and there was a question, I believe Ms. Hedlund had inquired about the infill housing sites. So there is and I apologize, it's in black and white, but there is a list of the addresses and the lots that we have in the East Tampa CRA, and that's coming from Ms. Parks, who was at that meeting. The other large sheet of paper has to do with the down payment assistance and funds expended, and she broke it down per the funds expended, the average cost of the property, and the average of the sales prices. And if you look at the bottom, mind you, East Tampa was the only CRA up until recent history to have the down payment assistance program in partnership with Housing Community Development with the city. So we're doing pretty good. I believe last year we probably expended somewhere in the neighborhood of $375,000. And we have some that already have hit the ground running here for this fiscal year. And the last sheet that I wanted to bring to your attention is the housing renovation program. And I believe we've done about 13 scope of works for the applications that have been submitted. And I did hear from someone that was speaking earlier, forgive me if it's someone on here at the table, but was talking about the level of customer service that Ms. Parks and her team and holding hands to, I believe it was Ms. Hewitt, she's already exited, but you know, they're doing a really good job of trying to make sure that they're explaining things and then following up, because we're asking for certain information and trying to get that back in so that we can go ahead and start to process those applications in a expedient fashion. So just wanted to make sure that you all had that, and I'll pause for any questions on that. Nope. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
How are we doing on the
Because I know that I personally helped kind of guide quite a few businesses through the business grants. What's the status or updates on?
So next
that.
month, I will provide an
Okay.
update from, and we actually just had a meeting this morning, from Ms. Reed and her team about the commercial grants. So I'm trying
Next
to
month. Okay.
flip flop it every other month.
Gotcha.
So, yes, ma'am. I wanted to acknowledge, and I think I sent you all an email back in October, November. I was really giddy and excited because we were recognized and received 2 awards from the Florida Redevelopment Association during the conference in October. So you have the hardware there in front of you just to, take a look. And those awards came from projects in East Tampa. And I know most of you all received the email and the link when I sent it back then, but I just wanted you all to be able to see it, touch it, feel it.
Is this from the well, the box?
Yes, one of them, yes. Yes, so we're really excited about that. I want to say thank you. We have been doing some engagement, but East Tampa, and you can see the partnership with our planning department, and thank you, Bryce and Evan and Jackson that have left, but we are working really hard to have the discussion with the CACs and the community. You all went past and didn't have a meeting in August to have an engagement for the community. So, that's big. And I think you see the fruit of that labor. And so we're going to continue to do things like that. We have some other properties that we're looking at in the area. I don't like to go into it because as soon as I say that, the price goes up on certain things. But so I know you all are aware. I would like to also highlight in your packet, you'll probably see a flyer related to the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Plan update. That engagement meeting is going to be taking place, and I think in our October meeting, the firm that is heading that up presented on October 1st. So, and there's a QR code, so please, and we'll send it out electronically, but I can print them out for you all to have in case when you go to your neighborhood associations, please, we want to, I took the survey already. So I want to make sure that we, get a good groundswell of participation for it so that we can build out the plan. Professor Green is actually here. So he says he didn't come to speak on anything agenda, but just kind of wanted to participate and listen. And I didn't know if you wanted to share anything.
Yes, I would love to add just a little bit more information. So if you all scan that QR code, it'll take you to the project engagement page, which just acts as an online bulletin board. It has any important dates and information about the project. We'll go ahead and update that accordingly when there are updates available. And that is the page that you go to locate the survey as well. So please, like Mr. McCray said, share it with anybody who lives, works, and plays in East Tampa. We want to hear from you because that feedback is really valuable when we're going to be updating this community redevelopment plan. So all I have.
And before Ms. Tate asked the question, yes, it's going to be in the Florida Sentinel, and Mr. Farringer has also reached out to La Gazzetta and we'll be pushing it on our social media platforms as well across with the City of Tampa Communications Department. So a lot of stuff going on. So you all get ready. We're gonna keep you busy. And I do apologize. I know the parking was a challenge this evening. And we didn't find out until late last week that FEMA was going to be using the community room that we normally meet in. So that's why we're in this space. But in February, we will be back in the community room in our normal meeting location. With that being said, any questions?
New business.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next agenda item is new business, the East Tampa Community Redevelopment Plan Engagement Meeting at C. Blythe Andrews, January 22nd at 6 p.m.
And she has. Yep.
Is this where we can add some new business? Okay, couple of new business items. Manager McCray, Funland Housing Development. Can we have you come and give a presentation, please, sir? Bring us up to snuff on that project.
I will ask. That is not one of ours necessarily,
I
but
know.
I can inquire with our counterparts at HCD to see who the point of contact would be. And I believe the Richmond is over the development.
Correct.
But I will inquire.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
It's also basketball season, and the Skill Center has a very explosive not project, but they have a very explosive program up there. It's a traveling basketball program for our young people, and in the form of a question for next month's meeting. How many scholarships have been awarded to our youth? Area codes 33605, 33610 have been awarded to our youth because basketball is a gateway to scholarships for college. It's also a gateway for when they go out in the basketball camps. Other scouts from other areas see them and, oh, who's that kid over there? They might be awarded a scholarship on the spot, anything like that, or recruited. It's a great avenue to pick up a scholarship. So in the form of a question, how many scholarships have been awarded to our children since they said they would be awarding scholarships?
I will reach out to the representative from the Skill Center to see what the response will be.
Thank you, sir.
I did have some new business also. I know at the October meeting, we had requests for our Department of Transportation along with Hillsborough County and City of Tampa to update the CAC on transportation plans. The FDOT did meet this week internally. It just took a little while with the holidays and everything to meet with the upper management staff. I'm thinking that we'll probably be able to get all three agencies, because it would be good for the three agencies to meet internally to get on the same page with things. So I'm anticipating that the earliest would be March, if not April, just because it takes a while for everybody to get all their plans together. So we're not trying to delay it, but we just want to make sure that we have accurate information and it's just not haphazard. So that is in the works. And we'll work with Mr. Gray to get that scheduled. Any other new business?
I wanted to clarify, the flyer says the meeting starts at 6:30, but your agenda says 6 PM for our January 22nd.
It's 6:30.
Okay, perfect.
That is right.
Thank you.
Scrivener's error.
Okay. Seeing none for the business and Ms. Gang, do you have any new business online? Seeing none. Okay, so moving on to announcements. The next CRA board meeting is going to be January 16th at 9 a.m. at Tampa City Hall. And the next East Tampa CAC meeting is going to be February 4th at 6 p.m. right here at the City Center of Hannah Avenue. And that actually concludes our agenda. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Manager McCray, I noticed that all the meetings are now taking place at 6 PM. Is that going to be the standard?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. And then you want to.
Yes. So, thank you. Many of you know, and I believe I sent out an email for the folks that have been serving a little longer about Ms. Noreen Copeland Miller. She has been an active advocate and served on our East Tampa CAC and multiple boards and committees across not only East Tampa, but Hillsborough County proper and the CAB board. So,
yes.
Of course, many of you know she was a real strong advocate for her community.
Yes.
And unfortunately passed away latter part of September, early October. And so.
Cemetery.
Correct, yes. The list goes on and
yes.
Monument, fencing,
yes.
and the like. So, you know, we did honor some of the folks on the CAC that rolled off at our December meeting, the CRA board. And, you know, her family was not able to be there, but I did make sure to deliver her certificate of appreciation. And we also did participate in her homegoing services, so forth. So, and I did see some members of the East Tampa CAC and the community at large there. So I just wanted to highlight that and, you know, that she was and still is appreciated, and we will continue this work. And, you know, it's funny because you know, you kind of have epiphanies and I'm like, maybe the reason why she was pushing so hard and she was on me a lot. So, and it's probably because of, you know, just she knew what may be coming forward in her future. So, but, you know, appreciated her candor and everything that she did to move the needle in our community. So just wanted to say thank you.
Yes, thank you. She will be missed. Great lady.
Does anybody have a motion to conclude today's
So
meeting?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and have a good night, everybody.